going to talk first a bit about our the work we do in our project regarding semantic web and BIBFRAME. So first I introduce a little bit our project. The project is called Fachinformationsdienst Linguistik. We are based at the University Frankfurt am Main in Germany, and we are two project partners, which are two subunits of the university. For one part, the university library, which does the librarian part of the project, and for the other part, the computational linguistics working group located at the computer science department, headed by Professor Dr. Christian Scharkos. And he especially specializes in applying semantic web and linked data technologies to the field of linguistics. And when he joined our project, that was basically also what prompted us to become interested in these topics, which led me to present now here today. So next. Yes, so our project is a Fachinformationsdienst that is basically a funding program by the German Research Foundation, and we try to provide researchers in the field of linguistics with resources, tools, and services for them to be able to conduct their studies and their research. And several, like this is basically the latest offspring of a long tradition of comparable funding. And we are now doing this project since 2017 and are currently in the second phase. And Okay, so we offer a vast amount of services, and the pivot point of all these services is our web portal, linguistik.de, which also, as the centerpiece, has or includes a search portal for relevant resources for the field of linguistics. And these are, for the most part, traditional library resources. Maybe a little peculiarity is that we have a large amount of articles there, like 62% from approximately, I think, 2.7 million unique resources. We have also some additional things that are maybe a bit specific to the field of linguistics, and which are also directly connected to us being interested in linked data. And these are electronic language resources. By that we mean, for example, electronic dictionaries and also corpora in the corpora in the sense of this talk. We basically mean prototypically some sort of text that is annotated in a specific way, for example, with part of speech text like verb or noun for being employed in linguistic research. There are also other types of corpora, like when they have audio or video or stuff like that, but this is the working definition for today, maybe. So what we wanted to do to get these resources into our portal is to link them to the linked data cloud. So maybe you or most of you will probably be familiar with similar marble graphics, so to say, which has different, which tries to map the linked data cloud, and this is a specific version for linguistic linked data. So these marbles you see there, they are linguistic resources, electronic dictionaries or something like that, corpora. And we basically wanted to become, so to say, a marble in this marble bag, so that we can connect ourselves to other ones, and then by that get additional resources, linguistic resources, such as the aforementioned corpora. And the way we wanted to do that was to employ research done by Professor Christian Scharkos. I mentioned him before. He basically has developed some sort of, I would call it meta ontology that maps different ontologies used in these resources onto a common ground. And we wanted to basically map something we already have, I will talk about that later, to that repository, so that we can, via inferences, for example, with OLSAMS or something like that, map stuff we have to stuff in the cloud and get it on this way into our portal. This is basically the approach we tried to to take. And at the Library of Frankfurt, because of this long tradition of linguistic funding, we have also the Bibliography of Linguistic Literature, which has been maintained for about 50 years, and it has about 500,000 bibliographic references and a dedicated thesaurus of subject terms specific to the field of linguistics. These range from terms for specific languages or also terms of grammatical description like verb, noun, you name it. And what we wanted now to basically do is convert this existing thesaurus, which only existed as authority data in our library system, into GOS. That was our first approach, so that we then could become basically this marble here. And the idea was then to take this thesaurus and link it to other existing vocabularies inside of this cloud. And one was the aforementioned BLL Ontology of Linguistic Annotations by our project partner, which is basically concerned with grammatical terms, but also there are other ones. I think everyone in linguistics, for example, knows this Glottolog. It's a very astonishing work by colleagues from the Max Planck Institute in Leipzig. And they have, for example, a vast amount of information about languages. And we want to basically to have some sort of linking from our subject terms to terms by them, so we can get resources on this route. So this is, for you, maybe just as an example, how such a remodeled thesaurus item looks. It's a specific language here I chose, and you can see it looks very, like a basic thesaurus. You have like a broader relation, you have some notation, and you have different labels. And so next slide, yes. So and here is the ontological remodeling, which was done by my colleague, who is a linguist, and she basically looked at each of these subject terms to remodel them according to how actually it's used in linguistics, and not just by librarians who assign subject headings. And these it's also maybe important that, as in many sciences, I'm sure, in linguistics, many terms are also like disputed, and there are different opinions about them. So it made sense to use an ontology and also class relations instead of just taxonomic relations, which can be modeled in a thesaurus. So we did all that, and actually we even got resources like on this route. So my colleague made the ontology, we put it into some software our colleagues wrote, and we could find resources that could be integrated in our portal. But we also noticed that besides all this cool new linked data technology, it was not really possible to completely leverage the technology we developed by making this thesaurus. And we noticed that our portal's technology was not ready for that. So we decided in our current project phase to basically put the ontology first as the center piece, or what I would call terminological backbone of the portal, and completely change also the data model that was before more like a ad hoc invented scheme, basically like indexing fields for Zola. It was not a laid out or unified data model or something like that. It was just ad hoc made up labels for key values, so to say. And we wanted to have a dedicated data model, and we wanted to have everything at the portal should have persistent URIs, and it should connect separated data pools we had before, and also really use authority data, so that, for example, we can also enrich these language terms we had before from other sources such as Glottolog or Wikidata or something like that, to enable further search scenarios. So, and then we sat down together, and this is also where finally the BIBFRAME part starts, so to say. We sat together and looked at different data models, and we, together with our project partners, came up with what we would need and what we won't need, and we decided that we wanted to have a established or well well-defined data model with dedicated and coherent properties and classes that had been made to work together. And we have also some peculiarities that are maybe not so common with regular applications. And I have also to say, when we finally started to become interested in BIBFRAME, I was trying to find out who else does that, and who are the users or the community that uses BIBFRAME. And my impression was, maybe I'm wrong, but that still BIBFRAME is mostly used by large university libraries and also many large national libraries in the US and in Europe. And I had a hard time to find like smaller community portals such as ours that have maybe a bit diverging interests or needs for these kind of data. For example, we are not interested in any kind of cataloging, for example. We don't do it. We just take other people's data and aggregate it. And we are also not really using library holdings and other like features that BIBFRAME has, for example, and also which I feel many people talk about, but it's still good to be there, I guess. So then we sat together and tried to find out what actually would be needed for a data model to be covered from the requirements we have. And we have different formats that go into our portal and regular library formats, which I guess most of you know. Pika is what we use in our library a lot, and also the German National Library uses it a lot. But then we have several bibliographical formats, and also custom stuff, which are like Microsoft Access databases or even HTML, and all these resource types have to come together and these to be used in one portal. And for us specifically, it's also very, besides the regular catalog data, we also need to be able to represent like these corpora I mentioned before and electronic resources and stuff like that. And these were also, to some extent, the more tricky parts to model with BIBFRAME. And our approach we then took is that we used our local library data, which was a vast amount of data, several 100,000 records, which covered a broad spectrum of fields and use cases. And we implemented a prototypical BIBFRAME mapping directly from this data from our local data model to BIBFRAME. And I used, or basically I tried to find out how I could do it, and then I discussed it on a weekly basis with our librarian colleagues, and we tried to make sense of it or something like that. Because I have also to say, when we started out, I tried to find who else, for example, in our rather large library knows about BIBFRAME or has used it before, and it was a bit hard for me to find anyone. So we tried to look at the documents and try to find out what other people did, and draw experience or draw inspiration from that, and specifically the things done by the Library of Congress and also a bit the German National Library, and this Swedish National Library thing, SWEPUB, which was also a large inspiration for me, because they had some stuff we needed and I didn't find anywhere else, like modeling articles, for example. Yes, so I think my time is now coming closely to an end. So maybe here are some, here's a very narrowed down, like skeletal representation. I'm not sure if you can really see it. I'll zoom a bit in. I hope that works. So here, just maybe to show you a bit how a very like bare bones and reduced version of a BIBFRAME work level looks in our portal. One interesting part is here maybe how we try to link to our local ontology, and maybe some other interesting thing is here that we decided to be compatible to some extent with the original BIBFRAME, but also make it possible to have some custom, for example, general terms. We made a little ontology to model these, and here is the second part of this this one here, you can see this is an article that is part of a collection and like a collective work. And here you can see how we modeled this thing. And I see now that my time is coming to an end, so I will go to the last slide. So here are some tricky cases, as I mentioned before. One was how to model articles or also specific other information about articles, and the other one was how to get our classification in there. And yeah, some notes on technology, because I was asked by the reviewers to say something about that. We use in our library a lot Python, and also for this stuff, and our website we use Bechtel and Django, and the search will be used in will use Zola. And as for the triple store, we evaluated several ones, but it's still a bit hard for me to find the one that I really like, because yeah, some of the features that I would like or that need are only available in commercial, large commercial triple stores, and that's always a bit of a problem to use these when you want to maybe maybe enable other people also to reuse your stuff, right? So it's a bit, yeah, a problem. Okay, thank you all for your time, and if you are interested in further information, you will find them here on the slides.